Please be seated. The court is now back in session, and the floor is once again given to the prosecution to continue.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have just a few more documents left that relate to the military during the 1977 time period. First, document E3/1168. That's E3/1168. It is a 30 March 1977 report from Division 801 Secretary Roon to Uncle 89. In this document, the division secretary writes to seek approval to, quote, remove a number of regimental and battalion cadre because these cadres' implementation of the line is mostly contrary to it. The masses have no faith in them. They do not improve through education, and the direction of their evolution is backwards. End of quote. Next, document E3/849. E3/849. This is a report prepared by the General Staff for March 1977, titled Joint Statistics of Armed Forces. And it shows the number of forces in each RAK division, independent regiment, and office, recording a grand total of 61,189 persons in the RAK armed forces as of that date. Document E3/1199, E3/1199 is a telegram from Division 920 Secretary Son to Brother 89, dated the 6th of April, 1977. And this telegram reports that after education of the division cadres, there was, quote, more and more awareness and unmasking of traitors. This telegram contains a handwritten annotation by Son Sen, alias Q, sending the report to Ankar the following day. In addition, there is an annotation on the report that states, quote, arrest them. Next, a document E3/1202. E3/1202 is a 4 June 1977 report to Brother 89 from the Division 170 Committee Secretary, Sok. In the first section of this report regarding enemies, the report identifies 11 internal enemies of concern whose acts included that they, quote, talked, traveled, and communicated freely, end of quote. The report continues later on Khmer page 00033309, and this is English page 00828147, French 00 623394. And I would note here as well that it appears that the pages of the document are out of order as they have been copied in the case file. The report continues at this page, quote, "The committee agreed to request sending them to S21. Some people among them are still in Kampong Chhnang, and we just had our people go get them. The details of the biographies and activities of each of them will be done later and sent along with them." Concluding later, quote, "I request brother's opinion in this regard," end of quote. Next, document E3/1082. That's E3/1082, is a record of a 12 August 1977 telephone report from Division 164 Secretary Mut regarding the capture of a Thai boat 2 kilometers from Koh Kong. The report indicates that 4 Thai and 1 Khmer person were arrested and being questioned. And in the left margin of the document, you will see an annotation from Son Sen alias Q to Ankar requesting approval to, quote, "find inside networks," end of quote. Mr. President, the last document I would like to present today relates to the last quarter of 1977, the time period during which the closing order alleges that Son Sen had been relocated to the East Zone to oversee the conflict with Vietnam. And this is document E3/915, E3/915, which is a telegram from Division 164 Secretary Mut, dated the 31st of December 1977. Notably, this telegram from the Division Secretary is not addressed to Brother 89, but instead is directly addressed to Committee 870, and it is copied to Uncle Nguyen, Brother Van, Brother Vorn, Brother Q, office, and documentation. In his telegram to Committee 870, Division Secretary Mut states as follows, quote, "We have received the guiding view and the declaration of the party about the aggression of the Yuan who have come to swallow the territory of our motherland. We who have the duty to defend the maritime spearhead would like to, 1, be in total unity with the party, 2, vow determination to fashion forces who are a tool absolutely to defend the party, to defend the state power of the collective workers and peasants, and to defend the socialist Kampuchean motherland by sweeping cleanly away and without half measures the uncovered elements of the enemy, whether the Yuan or other enemies," end of quote. Mr. President, that concludes our presentation of documents. We appreciate the time to present these documents relating to the military structure issues of the closing order. We are prepared to do additional presentations regarding forced movements, but I'm not sure whether you want us to proceed now or whether the floor will be turned over to the other parties. That concludes our presentation on military structure.
President, thank you. Let we deal with one topic at a time so that other parties would also have the opportunity to comment or to make their remark. The floor is now given to the lead co-lawyers for civil parties if they wish to make any comment or to add to what has been presented by the co-prosecutor regarding the military structure of Democratic Cambodia's army. You may proceed.
Bonjour, Monsieur.
Good morning, Mr. President. Good morning, Your Honors, and good morning, everyone. We are not ready to present our documents now because we thought that the prosecutors were going to present all their documents regarding forced transfers and the military structure today. We are not in a position to present today. We thought the prosecutor was going to present everything in one go. We would request that the prosecutor should continue making their presentations, and we will present ours subsequently. Thank you.
President, I just gave the instruction to the prosecutor that we deal with one theme at a time. We would like now to give the floor to the defense teams. Starting from Nunchi's defense, so that you have the opportunity to make a comment or to object to the documents presented by the prosecution regarding the military structure of the Democratic Cambodia's army. Sonrun. Good morning, Mr. President, Your Honors. In the presentation by the prosecution, regarding the documents to be put for discussion before this chamber, on behalf of Nunchi's defense, I would like to express our objections to one particular document. And that document is a key leading to several other documents up to the listed number 67. That document has been discussed previously as well. That is since 15 December 2011. The document is E3/5, dated August 2011. In the transcript of the hearing, the document was debated on the 15th of December 2011 around 12 o'clock at noon. Let me repeat, the document number is E3/5. That is the revolutionary flag. The EIN is 00063324. That's the Khmer EIN. English. The French is 00538963. In 2011, my client, Noon Chi himself, made his statement and expressed his stern objection to this document, objecting to the document which is not the original document, and that is the very document we are discussing here today. Noon Chi stated in paragraph 22 in the transcript that, Mr. President, the revolutionary flag was not in this format. And this is a document which is not a book, and I do not know where it came from. This is not the format of the book format of the revolutionary flag. And if you have it, please show me. Otherwise, anybody can manufacture this kind of document. Also, on the 15th December 2011, a little bit after that statement, Noon Chi added that in paragraph 2 on page 66 of the transcript, that in order for everybody to clear on this matter, pursuant to the principle of this chamber, that is to ascertain the truth and justice, and of course I'd like to add that it is also for the interest of the people. Anybody can manufacture this kind of document, so that I repeatedly insist for the original document so that I can examine it. Then I would know who the author was and how it was put into the form of the flag, so that we can be sure that this is a court which tries to ascertain the truth and justice and not just a show trial. And if the court cannot afford to give me the original document, I cannot accept this kind of document. Also, on that same day, at 12:36, in paragraph 22, Noon Chi also stated the following. However, some words were left out. For me, I don't understand because there were only ... through that sentence. These statements of my client Noon Chi indicate that Noon Chi objects to this kind of document and that he refused to recognize that kind of revolutionary flag alleged to be written by himself and Pol Pot. And instead of that, the chamber and the prosecution insist on putting this kind of document on the case file in order to prosecute my client. Noon Chi also objects to any of the copied documents without its original version, unless there is a concrete argument stating that it is an authenticated document or original document. And on the 7th January 1979, and prior to that date, the Vietnamese troops intervened and engaged in a fierce attack against the Communist Party of Cambodia. And we all could not know for sure whether these foreigners manufactured any kinds of document from that date until the time that the court was established to prosecute the Khmer Rouge leaders. And since the opening of the case 002, the prosecution still insists on using this kind of document, claiming that it is a reliable source of document to be put before this chamber, and any other similar documents submitted by the prosecution in order to prosecute my client Nuon Chea. I, on behalf of the defense team, would strongly object any kind of document without its original version for its use before this chamber. And if the chamber wishes our team to make such submission in writing, we will follow the instruction. And if the chamber refuses to deny our request, then we will appeal such a decision. As for the books written about democratic Cambodia, with the names of the authors to be discussed before this chamber, as well as media reports and articles presented by the prosecution in order to prosecute my client, I, on behalf of Nuon Chea's defense, would like the chamber to summon those authors of the books to testify before this chamber. Otherwise, the efforts that we have put in together in this court is of no value, and then the allegation by the prosecution is extremely vague. And that leads to the serious violation of my client's right, and that his right has been violated and continue to be violated in the future if that is the case. For that reason, I urge the chamber to consider our request and to dismiss these kinds of documents as proposed by the prosecution. So, our team basically objects to this particular document, that is E3/5. And of course, the subsequent documents are of a similar kind. I'm grateful, Mr. President. President, thank you, Counsel. The floor is now given to Ieng Sari's defense.
Good morning, Mr. President. Good morning, Your Honors, and good morning to everyone in and around the courtroom. Let me just begin with some preliminary remarks because I think it is necessary to keep something in mind, and that is, over the course of the last day or so, the prosecution has begun, as they have in prior occasions when we deal with these issues, to give their closing argument. They provide not just the document and what the document contains, but also their spin and how it connects or how it is linked to the indictment and to the events and to the accused. So, to that extent, while far be it for me to advise the trial chamber on how to proceed in conducting this trial, it is my obligation to point out that these remarks are only remarks by the prosecution. They are not evidence, and as a consequence, little or no value should be given to those remarks. Also, because the prosecution seems to be intent on providing its closing argument at this point in time, the trial chamber should be very mindful when it decides at the end of the case as to how much time it will give the prosecution to argue its case, because that is exactly what they're doing on each and every one of these occasions. That being said, yesterday I made some very general remarks concerning these sorts of documents. Let me just repeat what I said yesterday to some extent, and this afternoon I will go into some details with the 54 or 56 documents that we object to, which we feel have not been addressed. And as I understand, the trial chamber is setting aside some time for me to make that presentation. I will only need about 15 or 20 minutes this afternoon. It is our position that documentary evidence has to be admitted with great reservation. Authenticity and reliability is necessary. These documented evidence should come in through witnesses in order to test the witness's knowledge of the content, or at least to verify how the documents were produced. To the extent that any of these documents that are being submitted without any testimonial evidence, we object. Recognizing, however, that the trial chamber will indeed, as we are in the civil law system, admit everything, more or less, and that it is based on this tradition, this legal tradition, for it to review it at the end of the trial under the free evaluation of the evidence, that it be very circumspect as far as weight to be given to documents where the foundation has not been established for authenticity and reliability. And that's all I have to say at this point in time. And I thank you for giving us this opportunity to respond very briefly to what has been going on thus far with the prosecution in respect to this presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. The defense team for case in point, you may proceed.
Je vous remercie, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning to you, the bench, to the parties, and to everyone present. I will be very brief because I must say that I am somewhat perturbed, because if I have understood the purpose of this hearing in application to various memos, and I'm referring to E170 paragraphs 2 and 4, memo E163 paragraph 3, and E223 paragraph 4. If I have properly understood the purpose of these memos as to the purpose of this hearing, during which we are supposed to raise our objections on matters of admissibility, and in light of what we have seen today, the presentation of key documents by the parties who wish to do so, I must say that the position of the Chamber was to present these key documents to the public and to give the parties an opportunity to plead and to respond, with the possibility given to the accused to comment. And this is what transpires in the various memos prior to this hearing. Under such conditions, Kyo Sampan's team is not ready to plead on issues of admissibility, presentation of key documents, and the merits. In this regard, let me reiterate what I stated yesterday, that taking into account the position of the Chamber regarding the broad admissibility of documents, we will not be able to have a true debate on the probative value of the documents before this Chamber. The point I want to make today is that insofar as we are sitting to look at the different memos and the documents, I endorse entirely what my learned colleague Canavas has stated. this is not an opportunity for the prosecutor and the civil parties to plead, which means that all documents that have been presented so far and in regard to which we have remained silent, we would have to revisit those documents in order to plead. That is the first point. The second point is this. Bearing in mind the fact that my client is admitted to hospital, we cannot make any submissions at this stage. Thank you for your attention.
The President, thank you. I now hand over to the prosecution to respond to the various objections raised by parties. You may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm not sure I understand why counsel for Q Sampan is perturbed. I think the trial chamber's memo was clear that we would present documents. This is not a closing argument. It was a presentation of documentary evidence, and that counsel would have an opportunity to respond and make observations. Not, I believe, to debate admissibility, which has already been decided with respect to these documents, but to make any observations that they wish. With regard to Noon Chea's counsel, who focused on document E3/5, the August 1975 revolutionary flag, the court has already determined the admissibility of that document and rejected the arguments that documents need to be originals. I will nonetheless take that to be a comment still challenging the weight of the document. So I would make the following three observations, and I'm glad that counsel reminded the court of the disingenuous statements of Noon Chea that were made at the outset of this trial regarding these documents. First, color copies have since been shown of some of the revolutionary flags, from which it can be seen clearly that this was a booklet that was then copied into black and white. So the assertion that these were booklets has been shown by some color copies of the revolutionary flag that have been put before the chamber. In regards to the assertion that somehow we are not searching for the truth, that documents have been manufactured, that this is a show trial, these are incredibly disingenuous remarks. I would remind everyone the court has heard testimony from witness Kim Vun, who worked at the office that printed revolutionary flag. He came to this court, he testified, he looked at these documents, and he confirmed their authenticity. And in regards to this particular document, the August 1975 revolutionary flag that records a speech given to 3,000 cadres from the Army in July 1975, we have heard recent testimony from one of the soldiers who confirms attending that meeting that is discussed in this issue of revolutionary flag. So for counsel to suggest that there is any question about this document is simply wrong. And that is my response to the comments from the defense.
The President, thank you. The President. According to the schedule of this document hearing, this afternoon the Chamber will hear the presentation of documents by the defense team for Mr. Ieng Sary. There are altogether 56 documents sought by the defense team for Ieng Sary, so the Chamber wishes to ask the defense team whether or not you are ready and this document can be presented this afternoon.
We are ready, Mr. President.
The President, thank you. How about the lead co-lawyer civil parties? Just now you mentioned that you have not been ready on the comments or the presentation of documents concerning the facts relevant to the structure of the military of the Democratic Cambodia. The Chamber wishes to ask whether or not you can present this document.
Mr. President, we have to apologize, but I think that the rather hasty preparation for this hearing has led us into error, because we thought that our presentation would follow the overall presentation by the prosecutors. Be that as it may, we have some things to say about military structures. We will be able to do this in the second part of the afternoon if the Chamber would accept for us to do this after the Ieng Sary defense. And we can send the list of our documents to all of the parties. There aren't many of them. We can send them that over the lunch break if that is suitable. The other possibility is for us to present all our documents, military structures and forced transfer, after the presentation by the prosecution, which would make it possible for the Chamber to acquaint itself with our documents over a reasonable time before we come around to presenting them. We can do it either way, Mr. President. Thank you very much.
The President. Thank you. The time is now appropriate for lunch adjournment. The Chamber will adjourn now until 1:30 this afternoon. The court is now adjourned.
សូមក្រោកឈរ